Most poor people don't even know, but many millionaires have one thing in common. They don't just invest in assets, they invest in relationships. And that's where stakeholder mastery comes in. It's a discipline in every project management book. And as a seasoned project manager myself, I poured established industry knowledge as well as personal experience into this video so you can get the most out of it. Can you relate to the situation that every time you do something, there is always someone having an opinion about you? Do you see their faces in your head right now? Great. In project management, we define those as a stakeholder. It can be anybody who has any interest in your activities. He could have both good and bad intentions. And stakeholder management defines the process of managing them. To be honest, I don't like the term stakeholder management that much. I prefer stakeholder engagement because management sounds a little too harsh because people have their own opinions, needs, fears, and boundaries. And by engaging with our stakeholders, we try to get into a respectful, constructive dialogue. We do this to listen, to learn, to inform, but most important, to influence. Your goal is to do all these things to get the very best out of the relationship you have with your stakeholders. And in order to do that, I come now to the 5 tips on how to master stakeholder engagement. By the way, this is a well-established standard. So if you are able not only to understand, but also execute this correctly, you are so much above the average project managers. Plus, you establish a trait of millionaires. So the first step to master stakeholder engagement is to identify the stakeholders. It's as easy as it sounds, but be aware that not only to focus on the ones directly involved, that is very important. You must also see the ones from outside. So for example, if you own a business, stakeholders are not only your employees or your customers, it could be suppliers, local communities, authorities, regulators. They are all stakeholders. And to identify them, you can just brainstorm using a pen and paper. But personally, I love to use some whiteboard tools like the Freeform app on Apple or Miro as a free online tool. Here, I usually write down all stakeholders to be considered. And to polish this further, I ask a close friend from all of us, ChatGPT. It can help you challenge your current list. And after that's done, great. But what's next? The second step to master stakeholder engagement is to analyze the stakeholders. The key challenge here is to truly understand their needs, their fears, and also their stake in your activities. You can find dozens of approaches and complex ways to do this, but I'm a simple guy. The easy things work best for me. I use the same whiteboard as before, but add a table this time. In column A, I ask, what is the need of the stakeholder? In column B, I ask, what is his fear? And in column C, the most important question, by the way, what is his stake? Also known as influence or power in my activities. I love catchy examples. So, a very powerful stakeholder would be your wife or your partner. If you don't make her happy or even angry, she could sabotage you and poison your meals. So, what do we learn? Partners are so powerful stakeholders. Be aware. Answer now the 3 questions I mentioned for all identified stakeholders in your list to move forward to the next step. The third step to master stakeholder engagement is to put together a plan on how you are going to engage with them. Some stakeholders you just want to keep informed, others you want to consult, with some others your goal is to influence them. To understand better the way of communication, use the power to interest matrix. Here, you take one stakeholder out of your list and evaluate their power against their interest towards your activity. Let's do that together. First, if you have someone in your list who has high power and high interest, you have identified some key players. We want to have a very close relationship to those. We treat them well, we make sure they get everything what they need, and to simplify this, let's use a term from airlines, they get our first class experience. Second, if you have someone who has low power and low interest, those are low priority. You have identified a group which you can give the least attention. They get our economy class experience. Now, the next two are, from my point of view, the interesting ones. Starting with those with high power but low interest. Those you just want to keep satisfied. They get also a first class experience but do not need that much of attention. And lastly, you have stakeholders with high interest but low power. I compare them to people who talk constantly about you, your activities, and your life, but who don't have the power to influence you in any way. Those get also an economy class ticket with some extra leg room, so they stay happy. The fourth step to master stakeholder engagement is to take action. If you have done all the prior steps, this one becomes easy as you only need to execute it. This means if your first class experience offer stakeholders a daily conversation, some presents, gifts, or whatsoever, then all the stakeholders falling into this category from the power to interest matrix get that treatment. Make that sure. Especially now, it's important that you stick to your plan from step 3. I once made a bad mistake when managing a project where I focused too much on people with high interest but low power because they were screaming the loudest. So my attention towards the powerful stakeholders vanished and faded, which came to the cost of not achieving the project goals at all. Therefore, I repeat, sticking to the plan is crucial also for the next step. The fifth step to master stakeholder engagement is to review. After you took action as you planned, now it's time to look at the results you've got. Are you happy with them? Do you need to adjust something? Idea it again in a board like Miro. If you've done it all along, your first cycle may look like this. But take a guess. What comes after the review? Of course, it's the next cycle, starting with identifying the stakeholders. Is the list of stakeholders complete? Did some stakeholders change so my analysis is not accurate anymore? Which effect does it have on my stakeholder metrics and my plan? Lastly, how will it influence my actions? To wrap it up, from my perspective, every sophisticated individual achieving great results has outstanding skills in stakeholder engagement. Did you like the approach I presented to you? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you are looking also on how to become a project manager in under 90 days, then this video will cover everything you need to know. If you have some tips for me to improve my videos, please share in the comments as your feedback is very valuable to me. See you in the next one. Bye.